Opinions discussed on Canadian Love by our guests are not representative of the crew or host. Facts may be referenced that we cannot back up, so please don't listen to everything you hear on the internet. Resources mentioned in the video will be listed in the description below. Please do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Thank you. Hey Michael, you ready to do the interview? Hey Michael. 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 Today on Canadian Love, we'll be interviewing Josh about Elmira.
All right, Josh, thank you so much for joining us here on Canadian Love.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. Now, I hear that voter education is sort of something you enjoy.
Just a bit.
Okay, perfect. Now, so usually what we do is we start with a little hit about your politics and the issues that you're passionate about, and then we dive into your own backstory just a touch to sort of figure out where it came from, and then come around full circle to get back into those issues, but with the perspective of where they've come from. So my first question to you would be, where would you identify yourself on a political spectrum, or would you say that you're nonpartisan and you're just interested in educating voters? Where are you on this?
Well, it actually varies, because if we look at every political election and decision and any bill they pass in the House, there's really no left or right. It's, well, how does this affect me? And it could be left or it could be right. And I could be switching back and forth from conservative to liberals like every internet meme ever. But I feel like you have to know what people are talking about. What is the issues at hand and how does that affect you? You can't just decide that I'm liberal or I'm conservative, because at that point, then you put yourself in a box and people are like, now we tell you what to believe. And I don't want people to tell me who to be or what to believe. I would rather go out, make my own decisions and decide, you know what? I'm going to be my actual own human being, besides a lot of people in society. They don't do that.
That's fair. I mean, I think part of the thing about identity politics is that it is a little bit easier to just, run with a crowd. I do know people who would say that they subscribe to the identity that they subscribe to because they feel very strongly that it is the right way. But I suppose we could probably argue that they feel that way because of who they've been exposed to and who their friends are and who they follow on Facebook. I don't know. Where are you at on that?
Well, that's most definitely true. Because of who you know and who you are and where you came from, you have a certain preconceived political view. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you come from a very conservative background, your parents vote conservative, and you these are the values that affect my hometown, affect the people I like, then you absolutely should be conservative. If you're liberal and you come from a liberal background, you absolutely should be that. But you should not be that because someone else is. You should say, okay, you should evaluate it. Because at a certain point in your life, there's always that certain point where you have to make decisions. You have to say, okay, look, my parents are conservative. Yeah. They believe they want to vote for my local representative. They want to vote for whoever is running at the certain time, and they really believe the values are good for the community. But I am not my parents. So what values affect me? What should I be voting for? Because we're all going to be completely different from the parents. My dad's a motorcycling hippie. He loves Spider-Man. My mom's very old school, and she likes to watch the Waltons on a Friday night, and they very much fit a conservative view to a certain point, because they're
including your motorcycling hippie father who likes Spider-Man? Do they both fit?
He's a conundrum, because he's very mellow and very relaxed. But am I conservative? See, that's a question I have to ask myself. And for one election, I thought I would vote conservative because those were the views and things that fit my current political view. Because we can't just say things are the way they are and never accept change. See, change is a way that we have to be constantly thinking of. Change keeps perspective, and without perspective, we lose our ability to free think.
Okay. I mean, I think that humans are changeable, and we change our opinions all the time, and being able to change your opinions based on examining issues is very important, as opposed to changing your opinions based on the people that you run with have changed their opinions, so you change yours as well.
Yes, I sort of went away from the question. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. So Josh, what issues speak to you? What issues make you passionate? What issues make you want to be more involved in politics?
Well, I try to be political in things that affect me. I realize there's a lot of politics going on, and if I say, you know what, I'm going to be involved in everything, I'm going to have more stress in my life than I can actually handle, because politics are 100% stressful. So I look at place where I live. So I live in the town of Elmira, and I think, what affects the town of Elmira? Sure, we have tourism. We have a giant festival every year, maple syrup and all that shit, you know?
Right, great
I live
time.
a block from it, so it's not as thrilling for me as it would be for you going and buying $20 souvenirs. But the issues that affect Elmira are the things that I think of. Now, in a year from now, when I'm living in Kitchener-Waterloo area, the issues that affect Kitchener-Waterloo will be my main concern. For example, right now, we have a lot of chemical factories that process things. We have Royal, United Chemical. They keep changing their name because they want to avoid lawsuits and such.
And you're drinking water that is imported from Waterloo because the
correct.
Canagajig Creek, a friend of mine did a documentary on this actually. The Canagajig Creek was poisoned by the Uniroyal / whatever they're called company, wasn't it, right?
That's correct. So in the 70s, they made Agent Orange for the Vietnam War, actually on the end of Memorial there. It's a factory that no longer exists, but the company itself essentially exists. They are now United Chemical before that. But every so often, there's a chemical explosion, a spill, some sort of thing that affects our community.
An explosion?
Yeah, there was an explosion, and this is the biggest issue about it. So 5 years ago, we had an explosion at the thing. There's a bunch of chemicals leaking in the air.
Yeah.
And you know what they did? They didn't activate the town siren or tell anyone for 3 hours, because that's how you deal with things. And then it went off and they shut down schools and such. And 8 years ago that happened as well. Recently we've had a chemical spill where a bunch of chemicals got out, and it was like black tar that would stick to your car. It had to be specially cleaned. Wow. And you know what they did? They changed their name so that they could not be sued. So
wow. So did they do anything about the tar, or did they just change
They
their
paid
name?
for the cleanup because the city made them do that.
Wow.
So when I voted in this election, I thought, okay, who is the best for Elmira? We have conservatives and liberals, and the Green Party, and their platform doesn't really matter, because the Green Party's platform, I did read it, and I forget, because the Green Party's platform was they wanted to put pollution taxes and put environmental cleanup things in as smokestacks and safety procedures into a business. Now, the problem was people aren't going to vote for the Green Party because all the other parties in town want the business. They want the businesses to stay, because the businesses can easily pack up and move away and go spill chemicals anywhere else. And they provide
Wouldn't you
jobs.
want that, though? Do you want a business to stay that's going to just be spilling chemicals?
It's the only thing that really provides jobs for Elmira. So at this point, we want it to go, but we need it to provide jobs. So until we can provide better jobs for people, which is an alternative that the Green Party wanted to look at, alternative jobs for people, as well as putting environmental sanctions and taxes on these people. So if something happened, they had this big chemical spill. They were fined $10,000 and moved on.
Yeah.
And our city's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, please.
Like,
we don't
that's
care
not
about the
good.
people actually drinking this water. You gave us 10 grand. That's cool.
And I live 3 blocks from it. So if that affects me, I actually had to go get our car cleaned, and there was just chemicals there, and we couldn't leave our house for a couple hours, but they didn't tell us. What if we were out when that happened, and that inflicted actual serious long-term health issues? They changed their name, they changed the corporation, they put it under a new dummy. No money, no nothing. They completely avoid the issue and they make popcorn flavoring, actually.
And they're exploding chemicals? Or is that just the previous...
It's because they don't have proper fire safety regulations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a buddy who works down there, and he quit because they weren't properly taking care of things. So like, okay, you're fire safety, just sit here for 12 hours, do your thing, and move on. And they didn't really take seriously the threat of chemicals and nearby neighborhoods. Now, in results of it, they shouldn't have built houses so near to it. But because back 20 years ago, they thought, this is an industry, this is where people live. If we put people close,
they can
people can walk to work. It's really good. People buy houses. But they didn't think of, like, what if something happens? What are these people, how are these people affected? I had neighbors who lived less than half a block. It was not good for them. I don't know if they have serious health issues, because they've been there for 20 years for all the times that these things have happened, and we don't know the implications of what those chemicals are. They don't identify it. They don't tell the public. It's all very hush-hush. Let's just not talk about that thing that provides like almost 800 jobs for Elmira.
Yeah. Wow. So the threat of this company leaving just basically has the town of Elmira just beholden to this company that is just destroying their natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys can't drink your water. You have to get your car cleaned from chemicals.
Yeah.
This is a serious local issue.
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, where else are they going to get jobs, though? You take away that, you take away all the jobs. I know it's like a town, everyone lives there, but we're just building more and more subdivisions without building up smaller businesses and actual local economy.
Yeah.
My dyslexia is kicking in.
No,
We
I
don't
know.
have a way to make a sustainable community. We have a downtown that's failing. The rents doubled recently in the last years, and we lost 5 or 6 local businesses because if you're a tiny quilt shop or a Mennonite jam store or a barber shop, all these places can't afford to double the rent because the people there don't have sustainable jobs. So the sustainable jobs we have are working minimum wage in a chemical factory. So it's really a damaging long-term effect for our community.
Yeah, seriously. So on the one hand, you have the only really steady jobs, which are the chemical things, and then you have all these shops closing because property value is going up, but that's because of suburbs and it's becoming a bedroom community.
Yes.
Why not just let the factory die and let it become a bedroom community for Toronto, like all of the other communities? I mean, I don't know. Is that...
Politicians have money in their pockets.
Oh, wow.
Because there's a lot of people that run, because the people that run for office, they have money, they don't have the interest of the actual people in office. They have the interest of, I can get money, I can get power, I can get all this and look really, really good. Look at Rob Ford, we won't dig into that, but you know what I mean? Like, he's doing it for money and power. He's not doing it because he loves it. The people that should run, people that have the passion, if they run, they get undercut, they get, for example, all our local representatives, when we had our last election, we had the Conservative, the Liberal, and the NDP. But the Green Party and the other local parties were not allowed to come because City Hall's like, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough votes, so they were not equally represented. And we're looking at a voting system that's like, okay, you have money, here you go.
Yeah, wow. So I didn't realize that the Elmira and probably many other local versions of the race for... Was this for the federal or provincial?
This was
issue?
for provincial.
Okay. But the provincial candidates, the ones that were underfunded, didn't get to come to the party.
No, they did not. They were allowed on Rogers TV, but they weren't allowed at the local city hall debates.
So it's
which
a
is
money game.
It's a money game. Because at the
Wow.
end of the day, if you have money, you can do whatever you want. No one's going to stop you. And that's an issue.
Yeah.
We don't think. We just go with it. We're just like, oh, you have money, you must be important. Just because you have money doesn't make you important.
Yeah.
It just makes you a rich asshole.
Wow, wow. So you have money, you must have voters behind you, so you should come to this thing. Meanwhile, the candidates that are actually would help the humans don't have the money and then don't
You know who
get
has
as
the
much
money?
marketing.
The people who run all the big businesses in Elmira and surrounding area that wants to keep their business thriving even though it's self-destructive.
Right. So those are the people who give the money to the people that will support their interests, and then we have this self-fulfilling cycle where nothing actually happens. Oh, Josh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's I'm moving from
Very
there.
depressing. Okay, well, fair enough, fair enough.
But,
so is there
yeah.
any hope for the town of Elmira?
I hope so.
What could, I mean, obviously we can't depend on the company itself to care about the people of Elmira. They would have shown that care by this point, and they haven't. Is there hope for Elmira?
I hope so. See, the difference is you have to vote smart. So half the community lives in Toronto, so they're not aware of the local politics. So those
Right.
people, when they come in, they're like, well, I like my guy in Toronto, you know? That guy in Toronto could be awesome. We don't know, because I don't know Toronto as well as I
Sure.
know the area. So the other half of the voters is Mennonites, and Mennonites don't vote. So now you're down to 1/4 of the population that is either high school students or single parents. And single parents don't have time. Single parents are the bravest, wonderful people. They run around, they do their things, they take their kids to school. They're amazing. At the end of the day, they're not going to sit down and read a political pamphlet that Joe Schmo dropped on your doorstep because they're like, I'm tired, I want to sleep and have a beer, you know, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you run down to like maybe 10 to 15% of voters who actually care. And those people who vote and actually care don't get to be heard because your vote doesn't matter when 50% of the vote goes to people who are uneducated.
Wow. So the question then sounds like it is, how do we engage the high school students and make the information for the single parents very easy so that they can absorb it, and can we get Mennonites out to the polls? Like, why don't they vote?
Mennonites are
Is it a
funny
religious thing? You heard it here. Hot take. Mennonites are a funny people.
They are.
I
Their
know
hats are
some
hilarious.
modern
Have you seen
Mennonites.
their fucking hats? It's the most hilarious thing. They're like, look at me, I'm in a barbershop quartet. I love them.
Fair enough. I mean, I do know some modern Mennonites who are,
those are
quite
great.
normal.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay, so why don't Mennonites vote? They just aren't engaged in...
Mennonites are outside the system.
Okay.
Mennonites don't actually take health care or pay taxes, so they only take social services. So when they go to the hospital, they pay their own bills, they do their own laws. So the biggest problem in Mennonite communities is abuse, because men are not kept in check. The women there could be abused, they cover it up with the family, they marry to everyone in their family because everyone's related, because they haven't literally stepped out of their social circles in years. And what do they say? They go to their local church and the leader says, well, you know what, you're forgiven that you hit your wife or you raped your daughter. It's totally okay. And they completely brush it under and move it under. Mennonite abuse is one of the biggest issues in the community that no one's addressing. It's the most oppressive community for women out there anywhere, because the women don't have any choice. They're told what to wear. The men tell them what to do. They're not... Like, literally, they're not even allowed to play baseball with the men. You will go by and you'll be driving by. You'll see all the men playing baseball. You're like, oh, that's fun. And all the women are over here by themselves doing their own thing. They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do certain things. They have a lot of double standards. It's basically a cult. So picture this. If you have one older man who has no clue what people are doing, who's been raised on the wrong ideals, no respect for women, no respect for the community, just we farm, we do what we do. And that's the guy who's leading it, who's trying to be the voice of reason for people. And if the voice of reason for people is not educated correctly, and he's not voting, he's not connected, he's literally in an outside society that says, fuck you, we don't need you politics, you know, you're looking at a system that's very flawed and won't be fixed unless people are willing to change.
Wow. So, I mean, first of all, I've seen the imagery of Mennonites being sort of self-sufficient and outside of the system. I've always really respected that. They're closer to the land. They're not distracted by technology and social media. But, I mean, frankly, where they are at culturally with what I would call misogyny and rape culture and abuse culture sounds like where the rest of Western society was about 100 years ago.
That's because...
So I guess they're still there. They not only haven't advanced technologically, because they've held so strongly to the old ways, that includes the old ways that include...
Exactly. Belts.
Inbreeding, hitting children and hitting women.
But the issue is, way back when, they decided, you know what, we're not going to progress any farther, and because they've progressed any farther, they still have those values that are no longer accurate to society. Because we can't just say, you know what, 100 years ago we were right. We're going to stop progressing. We're going to stop moving on. We can't say, you know what, after the wheel came out, you know what, that wheel's a really good thing. We're just not going to do anything else.
Guys, we peaked. We peaked. Humanity, that wheel thing.
Yeah, perfect.
Done. It's over. We're good.
Imagine if we stopped in the Stone Age. We're like, you know what? Art is dead. Let's just draw stick people on caves.
You know, bronze. They got to bronze. They were like, yeah, man, this shit's great. We don't need what? Iron? No, thank you. We have bronze. We're cool. We're over here with bronze. You guys have fun.
Yeah, they're taught not to think. And that's what we're taught as voters. We're taught not to think. We're taught to say consumerism. We're taught consumerism. So people look at us on TV. They're like, you know what? That Apple iPod, we should play a really cool Jet song and you will buy that. And it worked really well. People look at McDonald's. They're like, you know what? We're going to say it's real beef, but it's probably 90% soya, you know? And we get to where we are. And people everywhere, we're buying this consumerist culture. We're buying what people are selling us. If you said to me, I'm an alien, and I didn't ask you a question like, oh, where are you from? Like, how did you get here?
It's a pretty natural question.
I know, right?
I'm an alien. Oh, really? Where are you from? Mars?
But that's an
Venus?
extreme example, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if someone said, you know what? If someone gave me a stat, and people tell me stats, and then someone says 90% of stats are made up. If I didn't question that stat, I'm buying into that same system I'm trying to get away from. I'm not going to look at the news and say, you're completely factual. I'm going to go and do some research, because it's like looking at Wikipedia. Someone can hack that and modify it and take it to their opinion. Yeah, everything is biased, even the things we say to others that we're trying to be factual.
Well, and here's the thing, is that fact is fact, sure, but there's a brilliant quote by Descartes: the eye can only see what the mind is ready to behold. When you look at a set of facts, your bias will inform how you interpret those facts and will inform the message that comes out of those facts. So I don't believe that there's unbiased information anywhere. I don't believe that exists. I think it's very important to know your biases. I know my biases. I'm I'm a lefty hippie who likes
absolutely.
outlandish
Go for it,
outfits.
yeah.
That's my bias.
You have
know?
great outfits, by the
No,
way.
thank you, Josh. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying here about consumerist culture asks us to not question and just buy.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that you're drawing a parallel between the sort of the patriarchal Mennonite families who are taught, no, thou shalt not question, the man's rule is law and God's rule is passed down through the man. I'm paraphrasing you a bit,
Absolutely,
but that's the sense that I'm
yeah.
getting. And that you're sensing that, you're drawing a parallel between that and our consumerist culture where here thou shalt buy the latest iPhone when we play the song that
Yep.
thou likest on this iPhone.
I just really like that iPhone commercial because I love that song. I didn't buy the iPhone, but I like the song.
Okay, fair enough. But you almost bought it because you like the song?
Oh no, I waited until someone gave me one for free. I wasn't going to buy it. Are you kidding me?
well,
I'm
fair
not
enough.
buying an iPod.
Hey, Josh, you're
It was
clearly...
a Nano
you're
from
ahead of the-
2001. No one wanted that. I mean, people wanted it, but they didn't know they wanted it. It was a terrible iPod. It didn't have a screen. It was like, you know what? You can put 12 songs on here and press the next button and hope you're going to get Green Day's American Idiot.
I love... All right, fair enough, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I never had an iPod. It was just, my family didn't go that way.
Don't bother. They're not.
We had Walkmans until I was
Walkmans
20.
are great. I had a Walkman in high school for years. I would make my own mixtapes, and I'm like, I am
Yes.
the cool. I would walk around with my Hawaiian shirts, my snap pants, and I'm like, I am cool because I choose to be cool, not because you tell me where to fit.
You know, brief aside, I think that is the best attitude. If you are cool or not, if you allow other people to decide your coolness, then you are always going to be a slave to other people's opinions. You have to just decide whether or not you are cool and embrace that.
It's a very difficult line to toe because you have to be acceptable to people, obviously, but you can't appreciate their opinions as much as you should because a lot of people are wrong. I could be wrong. I could be saying a lot of things in this interview that could be wrong and upside down, and I'm sure that you might disagree with something I have to say. But if I'm going to say it, I truly believe it.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you're, being sincere and honest. I'm glad you're not making up lies for the
No.
episode. Yeah. I had no idea that this was such an issue with Mennonite communities. That's
So
still
I avoid them. That's why.
fair.
Gotta
Yeah.
stay away.
I buy summer sausage from them sometimes.
They make great summer
Yeah.
sausage.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah. And
great
you can
summer
go
sausage.
into the
good maple
farm
syrup.
and buy it, and they seem relatively happy. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, so Mennonites, they pick and choose. Their leader says this is what God says. But if you actually read the Bible, it's not in there. So it's sort of like what we do with our voter platforms. I'm taking it back for you here. Our
Okay.
voter platforms, we're like, you know what? That guy has a really good pose on immigration. I like his pose on immigration, but we don't read the rest. It's like if we go to the grocery store, we look at the cheese section, and we're like, you know what? Kraft.
Yeah.
But we never there's other options. There could be fancy cheeses. I could want cream cheese and apples like you're making tonight. But we never think about that other option. We just sort of go with what's given to us.
Yeah, this is interesting. And I think there is definitely a thing that I have done where I see an article and I go, oh, this article says this. I read the top of it and I'm like, well, I trust whoever's posting this article, and I repost it, and then my friends start commenting like, Mike, did you read the article? Mike, they said this and this is not true. Mike, these 4 things were fictitious in this article. And then I read the article and I go, I really should have read the article.
Yeah.
But this is so true where news and fact and information are now consumer items that anybody can throw up on the internet on their blog, and it becomes so much harder to trust what is
Exactly.
fact. And then, people talk about Fox News and how that has a very
that's
strong bias. And
That's a very
people
strong
talk
bias
about-
to one side, yeah.
yeah. And
But if that's your bias, it's perfect. It's perfect if it's your bias. Now, it shouldn't be perfect if it's your bias, though. That's the thing.
My problem with that is that if that's your bias and you watch it, but you don't realize that that's a bias and you go, oh, this is fact,
Yeah.
then when someone else tries to disagree with you, and this is, for the right or the left, if someone is going to disagree with you and you don't realize that the information you've been receiving is biased, you'll say, no, you are wrong. There is only one truth, and that truth is this truth that I have learned from this source. And if you don't go in knowing, well, here is my bias, here is this source's, they line up, great, but that's still a bias.
It's true. If you only dig graves, you never know how to actually live.
Wow. Oh, deep.
I mean, if you can have your biases, but you have to be open. So
Yeah.
if you said to me a political view I didn't agree with, I would not tell you, no, you're wrong. I'd tell you, tell me more. I want to know why you're into
Yeah.
that. I want to know, I want to understand. because every person is different. No one's going to be clones. We're not robots, unfortunately, because that'd be really cool and I could have a robotic arm. Imagine that. My arm would never get sore. I'd never have to do push-ups or anything. Just at the gym, just being like...
I love that you would take your robotic arms to the gym with you. Like, it wouldn't be useful.
You have to, if you get a robotic arm,
you would look great.
You've got to show off, I mean, what did the Terminator do? He's like, you know what? I don't have skin. Look at my eyeball. It's super cool.
Yeah, I don't think that was really deliberate on his part. I think it's just.
But he was showing off at the end of Terminator 1. So let's be fair.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? We'll have to ask Arnie. So Elmira, the chemical issues and the sort of the local issues were what was really important to you. Which I have to say is something that interests me is that I see provincial politics as very much what is the province doing, and I find it interesting that. In the provincial election, you were really motivated by the local issues of Elmira, which was the chemical plant and the jobs versus other jobs versus chemical plant. And so, did you find that the local candidates for the provincial government were very involved locally and were very about local issues?
So the local politicians, the local representatives, very involved locally. The main representative for all of the province, completely disconnected. And this is the entire problem with the voting system. We vote for someone who we want locally. And we decide, you know what? If I vote Liberal or NDP or Conservative, they now are in charge of everything. You can't just presume because you like one person, you like them all. If you met me and my family, you might like me, but you're not going to like, maybe you don't like my dog Joe, Like, you can't just presume that because you like one person, they're all the same. So that's why I love the American voting system. What I like about it. Now, the system is flawed, 100%. The way they break up the colonies and the way the voting percentages work.
The colonies.
You know how like Florida has a higher percentage, so if Florida wins, that's like a key state to get. No pun intended.
Florida keys.
But
gotcha.
You vote for your local representative. You vote for your state senator, and you vote for your president. So your president. Say we did it in Canada this way. Your provincial leader could be Liberal. Your local representative could be NDP, but you vote for a Conservative Prime Minister. So that way, you get to say, I'm going to vote for people who I like individually. I'm going to vote for individual opinions.
Oh, this is just from the laundry machine. No, I totally get this. And I think, I know that one of my biggest disappointments with Justin Trudeau is that when he was campaigning, he was saying that he would create electoral reform and that there would be a two-tiered vote or something like that where you could vote for your local person and for the party, and then the party that won would win, and then they would distribute their seats among their members who would have the best votes so that it would sort of, absorb both your input on which party you wanted overall and your local person. I'm quite disappointed that he didn't do that because now we still have first past the post where people are voting for their local guy who they really like and then getting a government they don't want. I remember for a while there was a Conservative candidate in my area who was touted as just this really, really good dude, and people liked him. And people who did not agree with Conservative government values voted for him because he was a great dude.
Exactly.
And then Mike Harris won the provincial election, and they spent a lot of time afterwards saying, man, I wish I had realized that when I voted for this great guy, Mike Harris would have won because I do not agree with what Mike Harris is doing.
And I bet they complained, didn't they?
Well, of course.
So,
but they voted. It's not like they didn't vote and then complained. They did vote, and it did not have the desired
But did they read
effect.
the platform, though, for the local representative and the party? If they voted for the local representative because he's a nice guy and they read his platform, great. If they voted for him and didn't like Mike Harris and complained, they have no right to complain because they never read Mike Harris's platform. You need to read both platforms and know what you're voting for. Because if I'm going to vote Conservative or Liberal, and I vote it, and I fucking hate it. I think it's the worst thing ever. I'm like, I can't believe this is the worst premiere. I said this for the last 12 premieres because I know people like this. They're like, worst premiere ever, that Dalton McGuinty guy, etc.
Yeah, every premiere is the worst.
But if you don't read what you're voting for, you have no right to complain. It's like if you go to a place, they post a sign that says, no loitering, and you decide to loiter, and then you get really mad because you didn't know you're not supposed to loiter and you didn't read the sign, you didn't educate yourself. You have no right to complain, so shut your damn mouth, It's like, know what you're doing, know what you're voting for. Be like, look, I'm voting for, if I voted for Mike Harris and I read Mike Harris's platform and I liked it, and he did a completely opposite thing of what his platform said, because politicians lie a lot. I have the right to complain, but I took the time to read his platform to say, okay, what do you stand for as a premier? But if I just read my local representatives, I didn't read that main premier's thing, because I know you are voting for both. You have to read both. You have to read the fine print. You can't just say install accept software. You got to be like, okay, what am I actually doing?
So either people need to take more time out of their day to get informed about the candidates they want to vote for, which takes time, or we need a trusted source to actually deliver information avec the bias that it comes in, so that people can say, oh, I see you're saying this about this candidate, but from this bias. Okay, thank you. Oh, you're saying this about this candidate, but from this bias. Okay. I think, yeah. So we need better journalism. Basically, we need better journalism. We need more objective journalism, or if journalism is going to continue to not be as objective, we need it to at least state its bias. Today on Fox News, we really like Republicans, so just go in knowing that. So, back to our, you know.
But it starts where you're educated. If you're a journalist and you're educated out of school, it starts with the teachers. It starts with the process where you learn. If you're not giving objective sources, if your teachers aren't saying, okay, there's more than one way to think. If your teachers are telling you what type of stories to get, I went to journalism school. My teachers looked at me, they're like, get dirt or get out. They're like, we want the gritty stories. I wanted to go cover a fundraiser that people were having to raise money for kids in a shelter, and they had a big bazaar and they did quilts, and I could go throw darts at balloons and made a lot of noises and freak people out. But they're like, I got a low grade on it because it's not dirty. It's not dirty. Someone went and covered, there's a car accident. They're like, now that's worth 100%. We have these values where happy news is depreciated. Happy news and good news is appreciated, but the dirty stuff, the stuff that gets ratings, is what it's worth.
Because it's all about marketing. It's all about what's good TV.
We program people to love tragedy, to love this gritty story, to think, I think it's interesting. I don't know the exact statistic, but murders have gone down majorly. But murders seem like they've gone up because every time there's a murder, they cover it for 12 hours on the news and they interview these people. When really crime and everything is going down to a certain percentage, but we're covering it more. So I would say it's not going down, it's going up because of the way we portray media and social media. And it's been that way for years because people aren't going to tune in to watch a dog get rescued. I would love to see that. I love dogs. They're cute, you know?
Sure, yeah.
People aren't going to tune in to be like, ice cream stall opens at the park, or like, you know, something like that, or couple goes canoeing and discovers really beautiful hair, and like, who's gonna read that? We've tried that.
I thought you said hair. Couple goes canoeing, discover really beautiful hair.
Yes,
oh my goodness,
locks.
look at that.
Fabio is now a national monument.
I mean, I totally feel that. I you know, and I think maybe this is where the problem stems from, is that instead of being something that is you know, that is the public's need to know about things, that is funded on the basis of what it provides to society, journalism has become a marketable good, a product, a commodity, and if it's not going to sell, they don't want it. Exactly. So if it's going to be a reasonable story, or not super biased, or not throwing mud at something, then they don't want to hear it because it doesn't sell.
There's an example. In Elmira, we have two local papers. We have the Observer and we have the Independent. The Independent went out of business because it's a small town, you can't have two papers. We had this paper that was literally strictly good news. It lasted 6 months because no one subscribed, no one wanted it. It's like, but the Observer's been around for 30 years. They're pretty much just a glorified rag sheet to a certain extent.
What does that mean? What is a rag sheet?
Sort of like
context.
You know how they have the wanted ads for like man seeking woman, and they're like, and then they get whatever political views are paid for on the front page, and they're like, you know what? You know what our happy story is going to be? Kid gets his hair cut for cancer. Literally every week there's a kid getting their hair cut for cancer. It's freaking awesome. There's always someone cutting their hair for cancer, or like local play, and they're always shoved right in the back. But right at the front are like, city council disagrees on something. Factory disagrees on something.
Yeah.
City spends $5 billion on super awesome trees for an arena that are going to die in 6 months, you know? Like, well, we built a new arena, right?
Yeah,
we thought, okay, let's build a new arena. And because the other one's broken, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So our tax dollars paid for it, obviously, because where else are they going to get money from?
Yeah, city project, sure.
Yeah, so they built a new arena, 2 things, they built a big building, but they spent an extra $200,000 on landscaping. It all died within 3 months, and they charged it to our taxes because that's what our government does. That was the same time Todd Cohen was in power. Do you remember Todd Cohen?
No.
Oh, so he won for mayor, and then what he did...
In Elmira.
Yeah, so he double billed everything for expenses and took off with like $70,000.
Wow.
You didn't hear about this?
No.
This is great.
The mayor of Elmira? Elmira of all
He got
places?
arrested for fraud.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, Lynn Myers, when we had him, he was arrested for drunk driving.
Wow.
You didn't...
These Elmira mayors,
I
they
know,
really...
right? They're radical.
Wow, yeah.
No, the mayors of Elmira do not have a good track history record. Yeah, no, he took off with like $70,000 and double billed certain projects and stuff.
Yeah.
And no one caught him for months. Wow. Because at the end of the day, no one cared. No one thought, I'm going to care about my mayor. It's like they're elected mayor, whatever, moving on. We want Maple Syrup Festival. We want to go and do this and that. No one cared at the end of the day. And then they reported it. And you know who picked it up? All the Kitchener sites. Elmira didn't report it for a little bit. So I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he had a few of the newspapers in his pocket.
That, I mean, if they didn't report on him, you know, having embezzled $70,000 from the local government, then
that's not the exact figure, but it was around 70 to 90,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, that's
like
my money.
Solid years. Yeah, that is your.
What is my
the
taxpayers' money going to? Building fancy trees, fixing roads. They built a giant billboard at ESS because the football team needs a bigger scoreboard because they suck. No offense against high school football teams, but it's just a bunch of skinny dudes in spandex.
Wow, hot take.
Yeah, no, they spend all this money. Education money doesn't go towards what we actually think it goes to. It goes towards, you know, sports and what's popular and what's cool and what they can show off. It doesn't go towards music or trades. Because when I was in high school, they cut all the trades funding. They would cut down the class sizes because trades is something we need more than ever. We need plumbers, we need welders, we need AC people, and we have a lack of them because your AC breaks on a hot summer day. You tell me you're going to get a guy in here in half an hour, I'm going to laugh at you. It's going to take 3 days.
Sure, because everyone's AC is breaking.
And they'll charge you double if they get in that day, right?
Yeah.
So they take money away from the trades and money away from the music programs. Like, we're going to put it in sports and building, and we're going to pay our teachers less. But if you actually want to make a change in society, the first thing you do is you say, I'm going to cut my own pay. That's what, if you're going to be Rob Ford, you're going to be Justin Trudeau, you're going to be Trump, and you say, we're spending too much money, we're trying to cut national debt. Before you ever cut a single social program, before you even think about it, you look at them and say, I'm going to cut my pay to something I can live on. I'm not going to take this salary. Maybe you don't make that much. Maybe you cut your salary in half because you have to make a positive change before you can make a change in society.
Wow. So you hear that, Doug Ford? Put your money where your mouth is and take yourself a pay cut and then spend all of our tax dollars on
That guy's a rich bastard. He doesn't need any money.
Oh, that's fair, yeah. Did he get all his money from the mob? Did I hear that correctly?
I don't know where he got his money from, but at this point, this guy's rich. He's running businesses, he gets money, and at this point, he's running the province based on a business decision. He's not running it based upon what people actually need. That's the way we've always had our governments run. It's going to be, again, who has the most money, he's running the business. If he can get... I wouldn't be surprised if we get a story in the next few weeks, maybe this is weird foreshadowing, of Rob Ford coming out saying all the government contracts for something things are going through his companies. Like we've seen in so many other places. We've seen so many other conflicts of interest. Yeah. This is a thing that I feel like they just do because it's good for them. It's good for business.
Well, and the thing is, I think there are people who vote for the Conservatives. Now, there are a variety of reasons. A variety of people vote for Conservatives for a variety of reasons. We can't stereotype Conservative voters either.
Well, if this is their party, vote for them. Absolutely. If you believe in their conflict, in their politics, please vote for them.
But I think the thing is that a lot of people think, okay, they have a more business mindset. They're going to help us get out of debt. And the more people I interview who have done some digging into this, the more I hear that the Conservatives don't necessarily have a better track record with debt. They get a bit of money back selling public assets, and then we pay through the nose for them later.
They sold our liquor stores.
They
That's
don't
a
actually
huge money
help
maker.
Canada. Well, yeah, right? Like
we're selling off all our industry. We sold our liquor stores. We sold our oil sands. We sold our steel. We're basically selling our country to anyone who wants it. Everything is for sale.
Which is great for the politician who makes that sale. It's like getting paid commission on fucking your country. hey, you fucked your country. Here's a great commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and then they bring us in and they're like, you know what? It's okay. You don't need to have anything. We can't say we're proudly Canadian more because we don't own anything. The best thing we can say is
Syrup Fest.
the thing we can say that we're proudly Canadian for is we own a beer company or two, you know? Like, there's some really great local companies that do that and some companies.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully.
But we sell it off to
Gofton
make
a
money.
bit more than that.
We sell off our oil sands, and then OPEC controls our oil prices, and we complain that our oil prices are going up, and the government's taxing us like crazy because if we hadn't sold that, maybe we could have cheaper oil. We sell all our big steel factories. We sold our big one, I believe, our last off was 06 to some Chinese corporation, and it's just gone. Now we no longer own any of our big steel. Our natural resources are being sold out from under us. Our whole country, one day, I wouldn't be surprised if someone owns our country. It'd be like a RoboCop reality where Detroit's owned by like OCP or something, you know? It wouldn't surprise me because we sell everything because money is God. And there's no reason to do anything else because money is what you want.
Money is God, and money is arbitrary value assigned to numbers and pieces of paper. This is something we were discussing earlier today.
Yeah.
And how did we get to this point where it is a God, where it is a be-all and end-all, when, you know, it is such a source of power and misery, you know, and people worship it and make decisions based on it. How did we get here?
I would love to go to a barter system because I would be a sheep farmer and just trade sheep to people for things because everyone needs sheep.
Very hard to be an actor under a barter system. I don't know if that would work.
I know, but like, I think there are benefits to having money, and I think there's benefits to a currency, but I also think there's a lot of downfalls.
Well, and I also think that currency, you know, it's like, okay, here's an interesting metaphor that I just thought of, and tell me if it's wrong. You know, I got into social media because I saw it as a good platform to share things that I care about, to help people that I care about be informed about issues that I think they should be informed about.
That's a good reason.
And to share stuff like this project.
Yeah.
But I went through a phase, this also came up earlier today, I went through a phase where Instagram and Facebook, and well, mainly Instagram, and having a following itself became the thing itself. Now, part of that is because I lost my Instagram account, had to start it back from scratch, and hated going from, you know, over 1,000 followers to 0.
I have
It was very painful.
96.
Yeah, all right, good. Well, thank you. I feel better. But you know,
more than me.
no, it's fine. But the thing is that, you know, even though I went in with like, okay, this is a good system that's going to help me, I'm going to get into it more. There was a phase of my life where I was sort of worshiping the idea of an Instagram following when the Instagram following is just a means to an end. And I wonder if that's where we're at with money.
But where do you end?
Well, but here, happiness? I don't know. But here's the thing. Money is supposed to be a means to this end where we can transfer life energy more easily. Oh, you worked for 12 hours here. Well, I don't have a sheep to give you, so I'm going to give you this money and you can buy that. You know, and it's just, it's supposed to be a stand-in for life energy and toil and products and commodities, but it has, because you can make money off of money, you know, now it's this thing that we worship.
Yep.
And instead of, you know, it's like worshiping Instagram followers when Instagram is just there to share things with people you love, but then suddenly you're obsessed with a following. It's like society has gotten obsessed with money when money was just supposed to be there to help us transfer around our life energy.
Well, if you look at the creation of money and social media, the way their origins are, if money was created in various societies, everything in Roman, and it was a status. It was 100% a status. If you had a large stack of Roman denarii and coins and such, you were a rich guy. You had the power. People were like, you know what? That guy's got it. It's all about being the it guy. Same with social media. Someone created MySpace for some stupid reason. And you could pick your top 10 friends. Imagine being in someone's top 10 friends. That's the best, right? Because you're it. Yeah, exactly. You're it. If you have the most following on Instagram, you're it. If you have the most like page on Facebook, it's like Pugs Forever or something. You're the it of the pug pages, you know?
Right, yeah.
Everyone wants to be better
ideas.
than everyone else, but no one's willing to say, you know what? Maybe it's okay to be less. Maybe it's okay to just learn from people and just be me. And maybe me is never going to be the top of the charts. Maybe it's never going to be the most Instagram followers, the most money. Maybe it's okay to learn and appreciate life for what it is as opposed to trying to be the best at it.
Well, I wonder if we can infect society
hope so.
with the idea that this thing of accruing more and more money and making more money and making money off of others people's money so you don't have to work anymore, and this idea of getting money so that you don't have to work and you can just have more and more money, that is a distraction from actually spending your time doing what you love and living a happy and fulfilling life. Because I think poor people, and especially the working poor, are locked into this cycle where survival is the issue and they have to work for money to survive. But if we could convince people with a lot of money that perhaps the be-all and end-all isn't having more money, perhaps the be-all and end-all is giving love and sharing resources, maybe that could change the world.
At the end of the day, people are greedy, and they won't do that, unfortunately. I want them to change, though. I do want them to change. In my reality, I know it can't, but I want it to. You know?
I think it comes down to fear versus gratitude. And people are taught this mindset of fear where, well, you never know what's going to come next. We have to protect our own. We have to accrue more resources. But when you see what you have with gratitude, it becomes much easier to let go of it and say, I am grateful for this money. I don't need more. Or I am grateful for this money. I can give some to you. And I wonder if we could infect society with changing our fear-based mindset to a gratitude one, if that could be what changes the world.
I think it all comes down,
very philosophical.
Are you willing to share? If someone comes over to my place and they're like, man, I love that shirt. This guy came over the one time and he says, I really love that shirt you have. I just gave him the shirt. I didn't think about it. I just gave it to him. If someone comes over and like, oh man, can I borrow that movie? I'm like, yeah, go for it. If someone's like, I need a ride, I don't think about gas money. I'm like, I will give you a ride. Because it's all about helping people. If you're willing to help people, if you're willing to say, you know what, there's a lot of amazing people I can meet out there, and by helping them, you never know what you get. You never know what you could do. And maybe you get absolutely nothing. And maybe you get crushed. And I have had this time and time again where you help people and they literally 100% take you for granted. And then you get rid of them and you find someone else that's exactly the same, different gender, different politics, and they take you for granted. But you find those wonderful people that are willing to help. And you give more than you have, and hopefully you get something for it.
Yeah. Well, listen, Josh, we've sort of deviated from the topic of politics.
Yes.
But I believe that's sort of our time for today. Thank you so much for being on Canadian Love. I really enjoyed hearing about
Thank you for
Elmira,
letting me pander.
Local politics. Yeah, well, please, if we didn't like pandering. Yeah, thank you very much, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah, as always, like, we're a podcast. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We'd love it if you liked and subscribed and shared our videos and stuff. Right?
And comment.
Yes.
Please comment.
Please comment if you agree with or disagree with or love or hate anything we've
Probably
said.
disagree with me.
Or both of us, or neither of us. And who knows? Any strong emotions? Number one, we'd love to have you on the show to talk about it. But number two, if that's too much, feel free to comment. We're all about comments.
Comments is the way to go.
It's a nice low risk, low gain form of interaction.
If you don't,
I don't want to be on
believe,
your
you
show,
can't have a
but I'll just
conversation.
comment. Well, and here's the thing: if someone commented on the show negatively and said, "Michael, I hate you and I hate what you're doing," my response would be, "Thank you for helping me."
Exactly.
Why? Tell me more so that I
they
can get
absolutely
better at
helped
what
you.
I'm trying to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If people don't have a conversation, there's no change.
Yeah, so feel free to tell me that you hate the show, and I'll ask you why, and then you can help me make it better. Yeah. All right, Josh.
Thanks,
let's.
Michael.
Yeah. Thank you
Let's take
again.
it easy.
Let's.
Thank you.